This is St. Louis Cardinals baseball. This afternoon from Roger Dean Chevrolet Stadium in Jupiter, Florida. It's the Houston Astros and the St. Louis Cardinals. And with Brad Thompson, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Delighted to have you with us as we get you set for baseball. About a week and a half away from opening day for the St. Louis Cardinals in Cincinnati. And some of these guys that will be regulars in the lineup are in there today. That includes Paul DeJong, and he's starting to turn it up this past week.
No, he certainly is, and we're going to see more and more guys playing a little bit longer. But, you know, Paul DeJong is going to be one of those guys the Cardinals are really going to need this season. Obviously, picking up Nolan Arenado is huge. Having Goldie is fantastic. But Paul DeJong, we've seen the 30 home run potential. We've seen him tear it up at the big league level, but they need consistency from him and some steps in the right direction Thursday against the Marlins.
So Thursday was his first home run of the spring. Tommy Edman at the top of the lineup has been tearing it up. Then you have Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, Paul DeJong, and Tyler O'Neill. Some combination of those five in Mike Shield's lineup, 1 through 5. Meanwhile, on the mound today, it'll be John Gant. And this spring, 3 games, couple of starts. He'll get the start today.
Yeah, John Gant actually gets to face somebody that is not the Nationals at this point for the first time all of spring. And John Gant, look, he looks to be the 5th starter right now. And he looked like he had some good stuff last time out. The breaking ball was working really well. 3 punch outs, all with the curveball in this game. A ton of ground outs as well. 7 outs on the ground for John Gant. So, look, he looked good last time out. Another tune-up. Expect about 80 pitches from John Gant.
They're ready to go down in spring training. A little game of flip. Well, don't flip that channel because we have baseball coming up. It's the St. Louis Cardinals, the Houston Astros. Starting lineups in our first pitch. And it comes your way next. St. Louis Cardinals baseball is brought to you by Budweiser. This Bud's for you. By Shelter Insurance. For your auto, home, and life. We're your shield. We're your shelter. And by Ford, the official car and truck of the St. Louis Cardinals. To look at Roger Dean Stadium in Jupiter, Florida. Mostly cloudy, 77 degrees. And with Brad Thompson, I'm Dan McLaughlin. And we're in the studios of Fox Sports Midwest right here in St. Louis. And happy to bring you Cardinals baseball as John Gant will get the call today.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing John Gant go back to work again. You see the numbers from last year. John Gant making his 4th appearance of the spring, his 3rd start. And it's probably going to be nice for John in this one to see somebody that's not the Washington Nationals. That's all he's seen so far. He'll get the Astros in this one and a pretty good lineup that Dusty Baker rolls out there.
And at the top of his lineup, it's Jose Altuve. And the Astros here in the last week or so have been using Altuve at the top. And he's been in the middle of their lineups at times. Then it's Brantley, Alvarez, Correa, Tucker, Gurriel, Castro, Straw, and then Jones. Dusty Baker, is he headed to the Hall of Fame? You got to wonder about that when you think about the great career as a player and now manager. Longevity, too, in the game of baseball.
Yeah, you would think so. And they picked the right guy for that job, didn't they? With all of the noise surrounding the Astros after the scandal and the trash cans and all that good stuff. Dusty kind of came in, was a calming presence for them and did a really good job of kind of taking that off of the players. So they picked the right guy in Dusty Baker. The one thing that Dusty's missing is that championship that they'll be chasing this year.
Cardinals defensively, O'Neill, Bader, and Carlson in the outfield. Arenado, DeJong, Edman, Goldschmidt on the infield. Molina is behind the plate. And, partner, that very well could be your starting lineup looking ahead to Cincinnati and opening day.
Yeah, don't mind the look of it, right? You got a lot of guys out there. You kind of know what your infield's going to look like at this point. Tyler O'Neill has had a really nice spring. Harrison Bader kind of slow to start. Maybe that's the only question mark is solidified certainly for opening day, but it's a good-looking group, and now this next week and a half is about just fine-tuning everything before April 1st.
Carlos Torres calling the balls and strikes. Jerry Meals, Larry Vanover, Brian Knight, the umpiring crew today. Altuve is batting .226 this spring. 1 home run. That was the other day against Adam Wainwright. And he has 1 driven in. First pitch by Gant is a strike. A 6-time All-Star is Altuve. 4-time Silver Slugger, and a 3-time American League batting champion. Quite the resume.
He's just a good player, just gritty player. Overall, easy to root for, and I know that one's a little bit tougher after the aforementioned scandal we talked about a couple of years ago, but just one of those grinders.
Here's a 1-1 pitch and a fastball in there for a strike. I will be fascinated with fans back in the ballpark this year, the kind of reception that the Astros are going to get on the road this season.
It'll be loud enough.
Oh, yeah. Guys like Altuve and Correa, they're going to hear it. A little bit low. Altuve was signed as a 16-year-old non-drafted free agent out of Venezuela. Still only 30 years of age.
If you're going to miss, I'll miss there all day with John Gant. Love seeing him at the bottom of the zone.
And he got him with that Vulcan changeup. First strikeout for John Gant.
Showed him a bunch of fastballs. Then here comes that changeup. Same arm action. Good hand speed. And that thing just falls right off the table. Signature pitch there for John Gant.
John Gant has been awfully good as a member of the Cardinals. A .621 winning percentage since he came over in the deal from Atlanta that included Jaime Garcia. Here's Michael Brantley, the right fielder today. He's batting .259.
Pretty impressive. 11-1 in 2019 out of the pen. Like he was just right guy, right spot. Threw the ball really well. Gave the team a chance, and they just seemed to always respond for him and score some runs.
Michael Brantley, nice resume as well. 4-time All-Star. He's won a Silver Slugger. 1 ball and 1 strike. And the son of former Major League outfielder Mickey Brantley.
I'm starting to think that there's something to the bloodlines.
Yeah,
like
it's got something to it.
Yeah, if you had a major, an athlete for a parent, I feel like you got a good chance.
So you're telling me your kids are headed to Major League Baseball?
Oh, there's no question. I mean, how could they not, given this as their starting point?
1 ball and 2 strikes. He was nicknamed, was Brantley, Dr. Smooth during his time in Cleveland. Very smooth in the field and at the plate. 1-2 pitch. And it's popped up into shallow center. There's DeYoung, 2 away. Good start here for John Gant. Designated hitter today. The Cardinals will not use the DH, but American League team, they will. Yordan Alvarez.
You see only 4 games for Alvarez. He had been dealing with, had both knees worked on this offseason. Missed all of last year with the knee injury. A big-time power here.
I remember we saw him in an interleague series against the Cardinals. And I was like, who is going to get this guy out? He was unbelievable. Acquired by the Astros from L.A., the Dodgers, in exchange for Josh Fields back in 2016. Get out of play.
Dusty Baker had already said, too, in regards to Alvarez, like he's not playing in the field. They're not going to trot him out in the outfield, certainly during spring training. You won't see much of it during the year. You're going to try to take care of the knees, and his moneymaker is the bat that he's holding right now. They're going to try to keep him as available as possible.
And the 0-2 pitch. Lifted in the air. Out to right field. And Carlson is under it to make the catch. The Astros go 1-2-3. Cardinals coming up in the home half of the first. He's been on a tear this spring. The leadoff man, Tommy Edman, is next. Mike Schulte and the Cardinals are 6-6-4 this spring. Tommy Edman at the top of his lineup. Then Goldschmidt, Arenado, DeYoung, O'Neill, Molina, Carlson, Bader, and Gant. What do you think about the way that he has constructed this lineup in terms of having Goldie and Arenado batting in the first, and then having Paul DeYoung as your cleanup man? And this is Brandon Bilek, the pitcher for Houston today.
Yeah, I really like the idea of 2-3 Goldie Arenado. I feel like I look at every lineup as an opposing pitcher.
Lifted in the air out to shallow right, and the catch made over the shoulder by Jose Altuve.
Altuve's got to go a long way for that one. Yeah, I look at the lineup as an opposing pitcher, and as an opposing pitcher, I don't necessarily want to see both of those guys in the first inning. So I like that aspect of it. And as far as the 4-hole goes, Dan, I think that we'll find out. You know, we'll find out if Paul DeJong sticks there, stays with it.
Well, if you're this right-hander, all of a sudden you are facing, you know, a pretty daunting task of Goldschmidt, Arenado back-to-back. So who protects them? You know, Tyler O'Neill's had a good spring. Now we're seeing DeJong starting to pick it up, so very important.
It's a big job, and we saw that last year when Dylan Carlson ended up coming back from the alternate site. He did a good job of protecting.
Breaking pitch, lifted in the air, right center. And the catch is made by Michael Brantley. Nice round of applause for Nolan Arenado. Straw, Tucker, Brantley in the outfield. Jones, Correa, Altuve, Gurriel on the infield. Jason Castro. They signed him in the offseason, and he's behind the plate.
I know the home opener, Dan, limited capacity, only 32%. It's going to be loud when this man gets announced.
Big time. 2 outs and nobody on, and the pitch in the dirt to Nolan Arenado, the major acquisition for the St. Louis Cardinals this offseason. Exciting, just changes so much with this club, and we've seen that already in spring with the lineup. It lengthens it, and what he means defensively, an 8-time Gold Glover.
Well, you know this, the fan base is pumped up. I was at Ballpark Village yesterday, and it was amazing already. Season hasn't started yet. How many Arenado jerseys, gear. I mean,
jerseys?
Yeah, well, jerseys and jerseys.
Gotcha.
I know you have a wide variety of jerseys that you've acquired over the years. And they're comfy, right?
Well, they're half cuts.
Well, of course, to air it out in the summertime. It gets hot in the booth. It's a sight to be seen during the summer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like a good one.
It just feels comfortable. In the dirt, it's 3-1. I thought everybody in our crew had those. Well, I guess I'm the only one.
Well, you started the trend. Like, you're the one.
3 balls and 1 strike. Arenado this spring batting .250, no home runs, and 3 driven in. Breaking ball and a strike. Bilek was selected by the Astros 11th round of 2017 out of Notre Dame. The Fighting Irish. The 3-2 pitch. Got him. Arenado is swinging a miss, and his first strikeout. Correa, Tucker, Gurriel coming up for Houston. Out at Roger Dean Stadium in Jupiter, Florida. Good to have fans back at the park, taking in baseball. And even with it, you were talking about this the other night, as Carlos Correa will lead it off for Houston here in the top of the second against John Gant. Even though it is limited, you still have a different feeling about it. I mean, you can hear the crowd. It's not piped in. It's not fabricated. And even with just 1,500 fans in the ballpark, it makes a massive difference. The players have talked about it, how their wives or girlfriends or mom and dad are there, their kids, so they can look into the stands and see them. That's a big difference. So it is great to have fans back in the ballpark.
It's just a different energy overall. And last year, for various reasons, I find it very difficult to kind of gauge how a player did, right? And especially the guys that have been proven that had down seasons. I think that you can really look at this and say, maybe that had something to do with it.
Barehanded by Arenado, picked by Goldschmidt. They still made that close, and that'll be an infield hit for Carlos Correa. How about that? He makes it close on the barehand, and then the pick on the other side from a former Gold Glove winner.
Yeah, I think that we're going to see some nice things out of the combination of these two. That's the thing. Goldie, you could tell as soon as he came over, it was amazing how different plays ended up getting made around the bag. He's just so smooth over there, and Nolan, arguably the best third baseman in the game.
And this is no disrespect to Jose Martinez, but remember a couple years ago when they tried him at first base and he was playing out of position and he was putting in all the work, but players felt like he almost had to be perfect with some of the throws to him. Wasn't used to playing like that. He's an outfielder. Wanted to get his bat in the lineup. That's the other aspect of this too, is that if you're Nolan Arenado, you can take that chance and put it in the dirt. If you're trying to turn a double play and it's just one of those bang bang out of the glove and you're not real comfortable on the grip on the throw and it sails or it's in the dirt, you feel like he's going to be there, big target, but either come off the bag or pick it.
Yeah, up the middle especially. We saw a lot of that last year. DeYoung not afraid to wing one from the corner. Certainly yes. Colton Wong would make, you know, circus plays that he'd do no look and sling it.
2-0 the count on Kyle Tucker. 250 his average in spring. No home runs. He's driven in 2. Short lead at first by Correa. Shift on the right side. Grounded that way. Steps on the bag. Throw to second. It's a double play. That is what we're talking about. The defense on the corners. Paul Goldschmidt, tremendous footwork in the double play.
That was right on time, wasn't it? Yeah, Goldie is holding Correa over there at first base, so he's going to be tight to the line. This thing hit pretty well. Perfect throw right there to the inside. DeYoung able to put down the tag.
Sensational double play.
Really nice. See, Correa tries to run to the inside to take away the line.
Hit out to deep right, backing up Carlson. Off the bat of Yuli Gurriel. Coming up, Paul DeYoung, Tyler O'Neill. Big spring for him. And Yadier Molina. What a defensive gem there. Paul Goldschmidt. And now a quick word about a big change coming up to our network. Valley Sports beginning on the 31st. It's DeYoung, Tyler O'Neill, Yadier Molina. And DeYoung hitting 179 with 1 home run. That was the other night, the ball game that we did. And it was a 2-run homer to account for his 2 runs batted in this spring.
It was arguably the loudest ball, at least I've heard, all spring training, too. And it was nice to see him get that. You want to get a little bit of momentum going for Paul DeYoung. You know how important he can be to this lineup.
And the 0-1 pitch. Mike Schilt telling Paul the other day, you cannot win a batting title down here in Grapefruit League play. Relax. You're fine. And all of a sudden, it was just a, you know, sometimes you have those ill-timed conversations. This one was perfect. Even Paul admitted, he said it was just the right time to hear from my manager.
And I know that Paul DeYoung has the right mindset anyhow. He's talked about being process-driven as opposed to result-driven. But there's only so long, right? You keep going about business the right way. You're not seeing anything fall. Sometimes you just need that little kind of pat on the behind to get you going.
Loud.
That's the swing. I mean, we saw it 30 times 2 years ago, 2019. It's good to see. His rookie year hit 25, hit another 13 in Memphis. I mean, he's got big-time power.
And he lines it in the gap in left center. DeYoung to first base. He'll stop there. And the Cardinals have their first hit of the afternoon. So what do you think? You like the young cleanup, or would you rather see O'Neill, or is it something that's fluid throughout the year?
I think it's fluid. I do. I think it's kind of whoever is swinging it at the time. I do believe that Paul DeJong can absolutely be that guy because I've seen him. All the numbers we were talking about, the home runs, the power at the big league level. But I look at the way that Tyler O'Neill is swinging it this spring, and I feel very comfortable with him there also.
Comes in with a .433 average. 2 homers, 8 runs batted in. He has got one of the quickest bats in this lineup, and so there's been a premium on letting the ball get a little bit deeper in the zone, and we've seen him go the other way.
Yeah, both of his home runs this spring opposite field and crushed. And he talked about that a little bit the other day of trusting his hands. Like they are so fast. To your point, you can let it travel.
And that's the pitch right there, kind of that middle outer half breaking ball. He's trying to either take it to right field or just take the pitch for a ball.
That's something too interesting in an at-bat like this in spring training too. Bilac might end up just going right back to that. So what does Tyler O'Neill look like? How does he respond?
Runner at first is Paul DeJong. Nobody out. Home half of the second. Curveball backs up, and it's a strikeout. His second of the day.
You're looking for the nasty one that you got before, and then you get the cement mixer that backs up on you. That one, as a hitter, you pick up the spin. You're looking for it to go away. Ends up coming in on you. Tough to pull the trigger.
So 1 out, runner at first base. Now Yadier Molina. I do wonder if Mike Schilt will be more aggressive, especially if it's top heavy in his lineup. But at this portion of his lineup, if you have a situation like this, especially with Yadier Molina, think about hit and run. So I just mentioned it so many times. He's so good at going to right field. They shift a little bit here on the infield left side. Yadi's hitting .280 this spring. So the defensive alignment there on the infield and the outfield shading Molina a bit towards right. And Molina takes a hanger and yanks it foul. No balls and 2 strikes in our key to the game with Brad Thompson.
Well, it's balance. We were talking about this a little bit earlier with the 4-hole, but it keeps going on. The Cardinals have a couple of guys in Goldie and Arenado that you love to have, and if they hit 2-3 this year, that's great. But the Cardinals offense is going to need balance throughout, and it's who gets it done at the end. As a pitcher, you don't want to just get through 2-3 and be like, oh, we're smooth sailing now. Well, the Cardinals got to make it tough. It's about having a deep, balanced lineup, and they got the pieces.
That's your Toyota key to the game. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Slightly bigger lead, maybe half step or 2 by Paul DeJong at first base. And the 1-2. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Well, we know Jack Flaherty will be the opening day starter of the season. Cardinals open up on the road in Cincinnati. And then the home opener. Be no surprise, I think, the way that things would fall with the schedule. If you saw Yadi behind the plate, Uncle Charlie on the mound. Wouldn't that be something?
Look, if I were a betting man, I think I would bet on that. Schulte talked about it a little bit while they haven't announced anything, that maybe that wouldn't be the biggest shock in the world if that's what we see.
The strikeout of Molina, 2 in the inning, 3 in the game. The switch hitting Dylan Carlson, 207 the average, no home runs, 4 driven in. Well, there's a lot of people that you talk to around the game. They say, well, you see Carlson's at 207, Bader's hitting 130, DeYoung 179, and yeah, the numbers not pretty. And most will tell you down in Florida this time of year, a lot of it has to be done with the eye test of what you're seeing from your players. As Carlson shows a bunt against this shift, I like to see that. But the point being is that this is not an easy place to hit this time of year.
No, and
not making excuses. Numbers are what they are, but you do take a look at the eye test a little bit more now.
I think it goes back to a conversation you were talking about between Schilt and DeYoung. You're not going to win a batting title down here. It's about getting the reps in and the process. There are certain things too that players are working on that we don't know. You know, they're working on different things, so maybe the numbers don't follow it.
And the 0-1 is hammered. You don't need to bunt. Just let it fly. Wow. Way out of here. Home run, first of the spring, Dylan Carlson. First pitch showed bunt. Next pitch, adios.
Dylan showing off his range in that at bat. I like it. I like it. The ability to maybe go the other way. This is a pretty swing right there in that honey hole, down and in. Little cutter. Drops the head to it. Great balance. This thing is torched.
Well, you knew he had the distance. The question was whether or not it would stay fair, and the guys down in the bullpen helping us out doing the Carlton Fisk, waving it over.
Yeah, Michael Brantley in right field gave it the courtesy step. But
yeah.
That ball might have caught somebody catching lunch across the street.
So 2-run homer by Dylan Carlson, 2-0 Cardinals, and now Bader. The 0-1. This right-hander, boy, he's throwing a steady diet of breaking balls to just about everyone in this lineup. And you know Bader's going to see his fair share. 1 ball, 1 strike.
I like seeing Harrison against guys like this, specifically in spring training. See if he can stay on it, stay short.
Like that. Takes it the other way. Brantley near the line and makes the catch. Running catch by Brantley ends the inning, but damage done. Dylan Carlson is first of the spring. No doubt about it. 2-0 St. Louis. Absolute rocket off the bat of Dylan Carlson. 2-run homer as we move to the top of the third. Jason Castro, Miles Straw, and Taylor Jones for Houston. Third inning of work for John Gant. John Gant now 28 years old. He was acquired in 2016. The deal with the Atlanta Braves, Jaime Garcia. 18-11. He's had 3 saves, 114 appearances for the Cardinals. Majority of that time has been out of the bullpen, but now trying to make a case for a spot in the rotation.
Been a really good trade for the Cardinals.
Sure has.
One we don't talk about a lot.
And the 1-0 pitch. And it's 2 balls and no strikes. Castro, fine spring, hitting .429. No home runs. He's driven in 1. Taps that foul. Signed a 2-year deal in late January. Has over 10 years of big league time.
Coming back where it all started. Drafted first-round pick out of Stanford in 08 by the Astros.
Spent time with the Angels and then 9 games last season with the Padres. All-Star in 2013. And he looks at a ball a little bit high. You know, Castro received the Astros version of the Darryl Kyle Good Guy Award. And that's when you know a team, number one, thinks highly of you. You're well liked in the clubhouse, in the community, with the media. And that's why, Brad, as you well know, too, you come back a second time. They know this guy, and they give him a 2-year deal to come back to where it all started.
Yeah, absolutely. A veteran guy that does things the right way. You saw him kind of grow up within your organization and grow into not just a solid backstop, but a good player all around.
Base hit by Miles Straw. Single into left field. So this is where we were talking off air about John Gant. When he's a bullpen guy, his sinker usage, two-seamer, was a lot more last year and gets a ton of ground balls. Now he gets a ground ball here just past the diving Paul DeYoung, but the point being he can get out of these jams because of those ground balls and double plays.
Yeah, even if he finds himself behind an account. We saw that in the last inning against Kyle Tucker. He was down 2-0 in the count. He threw a nice sinker down in the zone and got the ground ball. Looked to do the same thing here.
Taylor Jones looks at a strike. .235 in 11 games, his average. '19th round pick in 2016. Made his major league debut with Houston last year. Hear the chants of bang that trash can.
I don't think the people are going to forget, Dan. I'm pretty sure whether it be 1,500 fans in a spring training game in Jupiter, Florida, or the regular season wherever they find themselves on the road, probably going to hear a little bit of that. I'm sure that man will hear a ton of it. A lot of guys that had nothing to do with that team and were nowhere around it during those years, they'll hear it as well.
That's right.
It's just kind of part of wearing the uniform right now.
The 0-2. Taylor Jones attended Gonzaga. He was a two-way player over his first couple of years at the school, then a full-time position player his junior year. They can play a little basketball, too, at Gonzaga.
Who did they play? You know, that's the thing. They're really good. They are really good.
Well, if Missouri would win tonight against Oklahoma, it'd be a matchup with the Zags.
You know, to be the best, you have to beat the best.
That's right.
I think it's a good carrot for Mizzou to have.
There's your ground ball, but against the shift, it's a base hit into right, and a run will score. So Taylor Jones drives in Castro, and that makes it a 2-1 ball game.
You can see with that swing, that's what Jones was trying to do with that pitch. He pulls the hands in. You see him almost guide it that way. It's a really nice piece of hitting. And again, to your point, right, the ground ball by John Gant, all you can do is execute your pitches. Try to do the same thing again.
Here's Jose Altuve. Pitch taken just a bit low. Struck out his first time up. Runners at the corners, nobody out. I believe that is the aforementioned Jaime Garcia. He's in the scout section behind home plate. That's Jaime, isn't it?
It sure is.
Yeah. Had a very good Cardinals career. And I got to wonder if he's sitting there, if he's working for a club in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, you would think so.
I'm not sure about that.
Jaime Garcia was that guy that no one ever wanted to play catch with because his ball would just move so much.
Yeah.
Like you never knew what it was going to do. And he would throw some pitches and it would just drop off the table or it would cut and it would sink. I mean, he moved it around well.
2 balls and no strikes on Altuve. And that is tap foul. So the inning started with a walk to Castro, Straw, the base hit to left, Jones, RBI single to right, and now Altuve. So you got John Gant on the mound, who was traded for Jaime Garcia, who's in the seats behind home plate. The 2-1 pitch to Altuve. Cardinals had a situation yesterday with Carlos Martinez in which, I believe it was the first inning, but they basically, as many teams are doing, pulling that starter and then having him come back out and start an inning clean in the second. The 3-1 pitch. Tapped foul.
That is something that the Cardinals have utilized a couple of times so far this spring and would rather not have to do so anymore.
Yeah, did it with KK.
The rollover. Yeah, KK's had it. I believe. It's happened multiple times. It's a nice luxury to have in spring training. 'Cause you still want guys to be able to get their work in, but you don't want your starter throwing 35, 40 pitches in the first inning. You can't do that to them.
The 3-2 pitch to Altuve. Backs up, and a foul tip held on to by Molina, and Altuve strikes out for the second time. So both strikeouts for John Gant have been against the Astros leadoff hitter.
Just that good changeup. Couldn't pull the trigger.
Michael Brantley. Also behind home plate, former Cardinal shortstop, second baseman, now a scout with the Yankees, is Tyler Green. We see him a lot down in spring training.
Yeah, he's always working. He's taken to that job. He enjoys it.
Yeah.
Great eye for the game. Smart baseball man.
Lifted in the air down the left field line and out of play. Tyler was just a tremendous athlete. We saw him with the St. Louis Cardinals. Could hit for power, speed, but it was always trying to figure out a position for him every day, and it just didn't click sometimes. But now a scout with the New York Yankees. Jones, your runner at first, and Straw, the runner at third. The 0-1 pitch to Brantley, who flied to center field his first time up. Good changeup. So trying to pitch out of trouble here in the third. Got him. So back-to-back strikeouts. 3 in the game.
Gant goes right back to the well. That Vulcan change got the strikeout looking against Altuve beforehand. Gets the swing again after throwing it for the 2-strike pitch to Brantley.
Not a lot to be decided for the Astros before they open up their season. They will open up against the A's. They've got Brantley, Straw, Kyle Tucker, 3 starters in their outfield. The 4th is coming down to Chas McCormick, Jose Siri, and Steven Souza Jr. And we know that this young man will be their designated hitter as he looks at a strike.
Yeah, they're still going to be, like every team kind of has a little bit of this at the end. They've talked about like their fifth starter spot. Bylock being part of that. Maybe he ends up being the long reliever as well early on. Jake Odorizzi still building back up to be ready for the regular season.
The 0-1 pitch. Yachty wants it up. Gant puts it down. 1 ball, 1 strike. Framber Valdez fractured his left ring finger in his first start of the spring. And then they went out and got Odorizzi shortly after the Valdez injury. Has not pitched in a game this spring. And as you mentioned, needs to get stretched out. And the starter today may be one of those guys that gets a shot in their rotation. 2 balls and 1 strike.
The initial reports with Framber Valdez, too, was that he was going to have a pin put in his ring finger, that he was going to miss the season. He did go get a second opinion. I think the news on Wednesday was he's not going to need surgery. They haven't given a timetable for Framber Valdez at this point, but that was a nice pivot by the Astros, being able to pick up Jake Odorizzi that late.
Three and 1. Justin Verlander is coming off a Tommy John surgery. Actually played catch for the first time 2 days ago. And he'll be recovering from Tommy John all summer long. They would maybe get him back at the end of the season.
And he's on his last year of his deal, I'm pretty sure.
There's a walk, so long inning here for John Gant. And now the bases will be loaded for Carlos Correa. Hit a soft roller up the third base line and turned it into an infield hit back in the second. 2 walks in the inning for Gant, and Mike Maddox out to visit. Pitch count at 43 for John Gant.
It's going to be interesting to see what the Astros end up doing with Carlos Correa, another guy that is up. He'll be a free agent after this season. Correa has talked about the fact that a lot like Francisco Lindor, another shortstop that's going to hit the market next year.
Trevor Story.
Yep. These two specifically, and Correa and Lindor, have said, hey, we'll negotiate up until the season starts. Once the season starts, don't want to focus on that, want to focus on the year. So it kind of puts the organization in a point of, hey, what do we put on the table here? And I know that James Click, GM for the Astros, talked about it and said, look, we're going to try to come up with something for Carlos that works. But you can also just look back as early as or as late as last year and see JT Realmuto with the Phillies. He ends up going out to free agency but lands back with his team. So it'll be interesting to see how it works out with Correa, though.
Javi Baez, another one in that class of great shortstops. At
Seager.
Yeah, potentially could hit the open market. Here's Correa, drafted first overall by Houston in 2012. And a ground ball hit to short, taken there by DeYoung, and a force play at second base. Correa will strand the bases loaded. The Astros do pick up a run. They cut the lead to 2-1, and coming up it'll be Gant, Edman, Goldschmidt for St. Louis in a 2-1 ball game. Stream every regular season game live or on demand. MLB.tv online or on your favorite supported devices, as well as select spring training games. Blackouts and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details. So no DH in the National League, and it looks like it'll probably be the final season by all accounts. CBA will expire, and that will be one of the points of discussion, whether or not the DH stays in the National League, and most believe it is on its way out.
Well, it just seems like one that both sides want. The players want it. It's another position that makes good money, so that's good for them overall.
As Gant puts it in play, Altuve plenty of time and the first out. You know, Waino is right around that 200 mark.
Sitting at 199, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, there are definitely some individuals that don't want it. Some pitchers that rake. Waino is one of those. Think about it in the National League. You think about Madison Bumgarner being another guy. Dan, you know, I mean, I swung a big bat back in the day. It was just heavy. Like, it wasn't good. It was just a heavy bat.
And your career average was?
Not 199.
Here's Tommy Edman, but you did have some major league hits.
Look, I don't keep track of all of my stats from back in the day, but I did have somewhere in the neighborhood of, it was 10 hits, 10 on the dot.
Yeah,
all singles.
No extra base hits.
No, I got robbed once or twice. Just once, actually.
.179 average. Great Keith O'Brien lets me know.
So glad that everybody's quick to the stats.
They've got him. They're not going to let you off the hook. You know that.
It's a funny thing, too. Nowadays, people will be like, you know, hey, why do you poke fun at yourself sometimes? Like, because you have Baseball Reference. You could go look up stuff. I can't tell you about the magical season I had.
Right.
It says here it didn't look so magical.
Well, it's right there.
Yeah.
Can't get around it.
Everybody's got the internet, unfortunately. While they're looking up stats, have somebody pull up my stolen base percentage, Dan. See if anybody can get on that.
I think it's 1,000.
It's somewhere around 1,000.
Yeah. 1 for 1.
It's it's 1,000 is the percentage.
1 for 1. Tommy Edman the walk. And there's Paul Goldschmidt, homered earlier this week against the Astros. Ballpark at the Palm Beaches.
I like seeing Tommy Edman draw the walk. That's the thing with Tommy. He's very aggressive within the strike zone. Walk rates have been very low, though, throughout his big league career. That job is about setting the table.
The breaking ball and a strike. Nothing in 2. Cardinals did have Roel Ramirez throwing in the pen just in case. This would be pitch number 40 for this right-hander. In the dirt. And Edman reads it perfectly and winds up at second.
Just good base running. You know the count. You expect Bilac to come with something off speed. He sees it down right out of the hands, and Tommy Edman just takes the jump. This thing doesn't kick off far, but just enough as soon as he sees it down. So here's the situation last year with Goldie up. Now you have him 2 strikes, but a lot of times you say, oh, we got first base open. Maybe I pitch around him a little bit if the count is different, obviously. Well, that changes a tiny bit. Now that you got Nolan Arenado behind Paul Goldschmidt, there is no, oh, a base is open, we'll let him go there. Forget that.
1-2 the count. Cardinals lead it 2-1 in the home half of the third. The next to Goldie. Evens it up at 2-2. In the rotation for Houston this year, Zach Greinke, Lance McCullers, Urquidy, Odorizzi, Christian Javier. Zach Greinke very well could be headed to the Hall of Fame. If you looked at his numbers,
they're really good.
Yeah. The 2-2 pitch. Grounded left side. Edman hesitated, now on his way to third. It's kind of play that you're almost in no man's land if you're Tommy Edman.
Well, it's good base running to be able to get there. It looked like he took the hard step back to second, ended up jumping on it right as the throw happened. Now you're that wild pitch away from scoring. I mean, it changes everything.
Arenado struck out on a curveball his first time up. Gets a curveball here for strike one. Looking forward to the ovation that he'll get on opening day. I hope to see red jackets there, which would include first time on an opening day a red jacket for a Jason Isringhausen, the Brighton, Illinois native. Maybe Tommy Herr will be there. Now, he has not officially had his speech, but you would love to see Tommy there. John Tudor, red jackets. Don't know about all of them, but, you know, we'll get some of them there, hopefully.
Yeah, even though it's going to be different this year, it's going to be special nonetheless. And definitely for the guys that you mentioned, first time wearing those jackets on opening day.
Right. I was talking with Brian Finch, who runs the Cardinals Hall of Fame and Museum, the other day, also team historian, and he said one way or another we will have an induction ceremony, whether that's done at Ballpark Village or we have to hold it outside or whatever the case may be. But in August we are going to have a induction ceremony.
Brian Finch, also the keeper of the red jackets, because these Cardinal Hall of Famers don't get to go home with those bad boys.
No, sir.
You show up, we'll put the jacket on you, make sure you don't spill anything on it, we're going to take them right back.
See, that, I mean, that would be a lot of clout when you'd walk into a restaurant. You know, you just say, with people, wait a minute, who is that? You know, that's a red jacket guy.
Look at that.
Yeah. People are picking up your dinner.
I've been trying to size some knockoffs.
Have you?
Yeah. Just for exactly what you're talking about.
Right.
Just want to get a free meal out of it.
Sure. Why not?
Like, man, I don't remember that career, but he's got that jacket on. So
must have been pretty good.
Yeah.
The 2-2. Popped up. And out of play. And by all accounts, for those that maybe are tuning in for the first time to some of our spring training games, all we hear about Nolan Arenado is that it's just been a perfect fit. He loves it. They love having him. And it's like he's been a Cardinal forever. I mean, literally, I've heard that from many guys.
Yeah, it's great to hear, and we kind of knew about it even beforehand through, you know, Matt Holliday, who's good friends. He kept telling us forever, he's like, you're going to love this dude.
Yeah.
He is going to be perfect.
High fly ball. Right field. And at the edge of the track, the catch is made by Michael Brantley. Cardinals strand a runner. Their first of the afternoon. It's a 2-1 game. Single game tickets are on sale now for April. Great matchups with the Brewers, Nationals, and more. Plus, there's a promotional giveaway for all 13 home games. And tickets are available right now at Cardinals.com. I think a lot of people believe that some of these games are sold out with the limited capacity, and that's not necessarily the case. So get your tickets now at Cardinals.com. Kyle Tucker grounded into the double play started by Goldschmidt back in the second inning and swings through a breaking ball. We haven't seen that curveball as much today by John Gant.
No, he featured it a lot last time out against the Nationals on Monday. I kind of like having something in the back pocket for later in the game. We've talked about how trends have changed over recent years. You don't really save anything. But we saw him in his last start against the Nationals, the first batter of the game. First of all, first pitch was a slider. Then it was a curveball, then a changeup. I mean, it's kitchen sink right off the bat. And it's nice to know that you can go to anything in your arsenal at any time.
And that's out of play.
Opens himself up with a lot of possibilities here, too, after that 0-2 fastball up in the zone. So you change Tucker's eye level a little bit. You can go right back to that Vulcan change that looks the same coming out of your hand and falls off the table, or go right to the curveball.
The 0-2 pitch. And a fly ball into shallow right. Carlson there to make the catch. Our Budweiser What's on Tap will get an update on Miles Michaelis. That'll be in the 6th inning as he had the chance to catch up with Jim Hayes. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how Miles is doing, how close he is, what the throwing program looks like.
That could be a massive factor for the Cardinals this year, with no pitcher starter averaging 5 innings a year ago in the truncated season. So the point being, across the board in Major League Baseball, you need arms, and that would be a big one for the Cardinals. Here's Yuli Gurriel.
Along those lines, as far as starters go, by all accounts, KK Kim is progressing nicely. The back apparently has loosened up for him over the weekend, going to get off the mound. Hope is to get him in at least one game before spring training ends. A little bit too soon to know if he'll be able to just jump right back into the season. I think the Cardinals will be playing that one by ear, but at least good to know that that back isn't really barking anymore.
The 2-1 pitch to Gurriel. Playable for Molina. 2 outs. Two outs and Jason Castro. First pitch is strike. So Gant was able to get Tucker to fly to right. Gurriel popped out. He's 0 for 2. Here's Castro, who scored the only run today for Houston.
And so far, a very efficient 4th inning. 3rd inning was a little bit long. Had a couple of walks in the frame. Bouncing back well here, though, in the 4th.
So Castro signed a 2-year free agent contract to come back to Houston. They also picked up Pedro Baez, former Dodger. He signed a 2-year deal. Ryan Stanek, former Marlin and Ray, signed a 1-year contract. Steve Cishek, minor league deal. And Steven Souza, who's trying to make the club as a 4th outfielder, also signed a minor league deal. We had some pretty big names, though, that are no longer with them. Most notable is George Springer, one of the best free agent targets the market this offseason. He got a 6-year, $150 million contract with the Jays. He was their home run leader, had 14 last year, 3-time All-Star, and the MVP of the 17 World Series.
Yeah, not an easy piece to replace, is it?
No. Everyday center fielder.
I know that's something that that Dusty Baker was asked about specifically early in spring from the leadoff spot. Like, hey, how do you replace George Springer? He said, you don't replace that guy. You just hope that somebody is able to fill in and somebody will do the job differently than he did.
Good curveball, froze him, and the strikeout number 4 today. Coming up, it's Paul DeYoung, Tyler O'Neill, and Yadier Molina. Bottom of 4, and it's 2-1 Cardinals. DeYoung, O'Neill, Molina for St. Louis. You know, Dusty Baker was hoping that Forrest Whitley would be a prospect that has been talked about a lot in their system, could help them this year, but he's been shut down again, and he's looking at Tommy John.
Yeah, that's another reason. It wasn't just the news of Framber Valdez, of the injury, the comebacker that he took off the ring finger. I believe it was off the bat of Francisco Lindor. It wasn't just that, but it was coupled with the news of Forrest Whitley. It was a guy the organization's kind of been waiting on the last couple of years, a first rounder that they thought so highly of, but just hasn't been able to get there. You know, when he was healthy. Now a huge step back, obviously, when it comes to the potential Tommy John.
Hanging breaking ball lifted in the air to shallow left, and on the run to make the catch, it's Miles Straw. DeYoung 1 for 2 with a run scored, and the batter will be Tyler O'Neill.
Number 27, Tyler O'Neill.
Well, you hear Tommy John any point in time throughout a season now, and it's certainly frustrating for the individual, for the team, the organization, but guys come back all the time,
right?
Yeah, all the time.
Well, we'll see a guy in this ball game, or at least we are projected to see one coming off Tommy John that's still throwing 100+ miles an hour. Should see Jordan Hicks in the ball game today for the Cardinals. And it's kind of part of the business. I remember in 2010, I came over to the Royals, and I think that I was the only one in the Royals bullpen that hadn't had it yet.
Is that right?
And I was so jealous. Yeah, by the end of the year, I got one.
You're just so happy about it, weren't you?
Like, look, you guys, that's a special club that you guys have got. I want in.
And you got it.
I did. I was off the Royals, but I got in the club.
1 ball, 1 strike on O'Neill. Struck out looking back in inning number 2. Hits it out of play. Boy, not many games remaining after this weekend. We will have 3 in a row for you starting on Monday here on Fox Sports Midwest. Before you know it, it's opening day in Cincinnati, and away we go for a full 162.
These are the ones, too, for the players. You really got to focus on getting your work in, because you look out ahead of time, and you know it's coming. You kind of want to fast forward there.
And there's 2 away. And now a quick word about a big change coming to our network.
Your favorite teams have a new network. Fox Sports Midwest is becoming Bally Sports Midwest. March 31st.
Here's Yadier Molina. Struck out back in the 2nd. And looks at a pitch high. Struck out back in inning number 2. That's 4 strikeouts for this right-hander. And a grounder yanked foul past Pop Warner. He'll check the bat. Maybe a little chip or a crack, and new piece of lumber coming his way.
Used to always enjoy breaking bats more than anything, Dan. I didn't get a lot of strikeouts, but I could break people's lumber. It always made me happy. I don't know why. Most of these guys get them for free, but, you know, it still felt good.
Well, you had that nasty sinker that could run in, and you'd saw a guy off, and, you know, that's how it works.
Yeah. The best of both worlds is when you can break somebody's bat in an at-bat, and then you strike them out, like a foul ball, broken bat, then punch them out.
Then they're really mad.
Yeah. Oh, just got nothing to show for it.
I'll be curious on opening day, where are we going to find Eugenio Suarez, who's been at third base but now is playing shortstop for the Reds?
I think we might find him at shortstop.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing. We talked about this a little bit. I don't remember if it was on air or off air, Dan, but the idea that there are less pitches put in play now than ever before. So even if you are taking a little bit of a step down at that position for them, if it opens up more opportunities from you for you from an offensive standpoint, I guess you go for it.
Backed up with that breaking ball, and he strikes out Molina, number 5 today. We move to inning number 5, and it's 2-1. Well, what have you seen out of John Gant here this afternoon?
Well, a little bit of everything. John Gant has looked really good. You like the 4 punch outs. He bounced back from a 3rd inning where the pitch count got up. That's where the 2 walks came from. But he's had great feel for the changeup. We've seen now in that 4th inning that breaking ball, breaking that thing out of the arsenal. He's kind of showing off the entire thing. John Gant, as valuable as he has been in the bullpen over the last couple of years for the Cardinals, look, I don't think it would shock me, at least personally, and we're going to hear more about injury updates. I know we're going to hear from Miles Michaelis with Jim the Cat Hayes here soon. But it wouldn't shock me if Gant just throws the ball incredibly well in this opportunity and remains in the rotation.
Now, something to keep in mind with him as a starter, and we'll watch this depending on where he's at with the pitch count. 3rd time through a lineup. Numbers historically for him have not been great. 3rd time through that lineup. So we'll see if that plays into any decision making throughout the season, or if he can play himself out of those numbers to let him stay in games.
Well, I think there's a lot of different variables that go into numbers like that. Certainly seeing a hitter 3 times and them seeing you 3 times, that has something to do with it, right? But for John Gant, I mean, John Gant really hasn't been given the opportunity at the big league level to grow as a starting pitcher. He started 19 games a couple of years ago when he first came over. But I think that he's grown as a pitcher as well. So you kind of trust the eyes a little bit more so than just an arbitrary number of, okay, 3rd time around, let's get you out of there. If this guy's throwing the ball well, you let him go. I think that that's just the thing around baseball in general. You got to trust the eyes even more so than maybe some of the numbers at times.
A 3-1 pitch to Miles Straw. Shallow center, and Bader is there. Straw 1 for 2. Here's Taylor Jones. RBI single to right, back in the 3rd. How quick of a leash, or short leash I should say, and how quick do you think managers will be with their starters across the board in Major League Baseball to try to curtail innings, especially in the first couple of months?
Yeah, probably very short. You're going to watch out for the extended innings. I think the one thing that every manager is going to have to do, instead of like worrying about a definitive number of innings, right? You just worry about the high stress innings. If you're able to limit those, then you can let your guy continue to go out there. But along those same lines, when we're talking about the starters and all of their innings and being the short hook potentially for some guys, you also have to worry about a bullpen who's going to have to eat up those innings. They don't just magically go nowhere. Those guys have to get it. So you have to worry about them as well. That's where it comes to the depth, again, that the Cardinals have a lot of.
Taylor Jones at the plate, 27-year-old. Made his Major League debut last year with the Astros, 4 for 21. Three and 1 the count. High strike goes Gant's way. Full count. Jones, a big kid. He is 6'7", 240 pounds at the plate. And that's lifted down the right field line, out of play.
You mentioned earlier in the game how he went to Gonzaga. Probably could have played for Mark Few.
That's what I was thinking. 6'7", they could use that. That'll play.
It will play.
Yeah. He is from the state of Washington, too. 3-2 pitch. Marco Gonzalez has been tabbed as the opening day starter again for the Seattle Mariners. Let's see what Yachty wants on 3-2. On a hop, backhanded, and a strike across the diamond to Goldschmidt. Cardinals Magazine is out for you and available with Bob Gibson on the cover. Great stories, behind-the-scene photos. You won't see them anywhere else. Steve Zesh and his crew do a great job. Make sure you subscribe. 345-9000, cardinals.com/magazine. Here's Jose Altuve. Altuve 0 for 2 with a pair of strikeouts. Gant has walked 2 today, struck out 4, allowed 3 base hits. 1 ball, 1 strike.
That's the pitch right there, too, that he's got Altuve on twice. 2 strikeouts. The first one swinging, the second one looking. That changeup, Jose not able to pick that up out of the hand of John Gant.
Really a down year a season ago for Altuve. Mentioned he's a 3-time batting champion, hit just .219 last year.
It's another one that going back to the crowd, right, being in the stands, we see another really nice changeup here from John Gant. Watch the downward action on that thing. But I think that has a lot to do with some of the down years for some of the guys. There's just no energy like in the ballpark. You have to create all of it yourself. I think that's hard for a lot of guys, especially guys that have played at the MVP level like an Altuve or a Yelich, you know, or a Javi Baez, another one that struggled mightily. I think there's something to that.
Baez also talked about the use of video really affected him, or lack thereof, which is now back in the game this year. The 2-2 pitch. Pulled foul. The 2-2 again. Goodbye. Altuve looking for something else. He's 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts. Gant with 5 on the day. 2-1 midway through 5. Dylan Carlson, the Cardinal right fielder and switch hitter, will lead it off. And back in the second, his first of the spring, and no doubt about it.
That was just pretty. It was a cutter right there by Bilac that just did not get in there. He dropped the hands. That's that honey hole for any left-handed hitter, that down and in. And nice to see. We got to see a little bit of that power last year. And the hope is to see that consistency throughout. The guy that came back September 15th, he was good. 967 OPS for Dylan Carlson from the time that he came back up again September 18th through the postseason.
Really felt that the Cardinals may look at him as being a number 2 hitter in front of Arenado, Goldschmidt, or whatever that combination is. Young hitter, maybe gets more pitches to hit. Cardinals have primarily used him down in the lineup. We'll see.
Yeah, and I think that it's going to be part of the interchangeable pieces throughout, because I do think that could end up being a really nice spot for Dylan Carlson, and the power potential. You'd love to see that there in the 2-hole as well. That was one, talking about a young hitter batting second, that was one that our good late friend Chris Duncan would talk about a lot, getting the opportunity to hit in front of Albert Pujols. And all the fastballs that he would get fed because nobody wanted to get to the monster behind him.
Sure.
Provided a lot of opportunity there. And Dunk, who was never scared of any fastball, turned on a bunch of those.
Did he ever? 2-1 pitch. I think fans would be curious if you've had the chance to catch up with Shelley or Dave or the family at all.
Not as much recently. You know, in the last couple
very
of
close
years,
with Chris.
Yeah. In the last year plus, try to follow them from afar, but not as much as I would like to. But what an incredible family.
Shelley is with Tony La Russa.
He is. It's another guy. He's got big league manager written all over him.
Not a bad guy to learn from and watch.
Yeah.
He probably,
well,
you know what? He's been watching him since he was 5. So what's the difference?
I was just gonna say he's been learning and watching his entire life. I mean, that's how those guys grew up.
So leadoff walk for Dylan Carlson, and here's Harrison Bader. Ryan Helsley has been throwing in the Cardinal pen. Matt Carpenter has moved to the on-deck circle. So it looks like that'll be all for John Gant. Bader showing bunt and takes a ball. We were talking about pitchers hitting probably for the last time in the National League. How about Zach Greinke over in the American League? Now, he's been with the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks, but he was hoping to crack double digits in both stolen bases and home runs. And maybe he gets to do that in an interleague game this season. He has 9 career stolen bases and 9 career home runs. And so that would put him, you talk about an exclusive club, it would put him with the late Bob Gibson as the only major league pitcher since 1920 to be the 10-10 club with pitchers. Zach Greinke has always loved to hit. Great hitter.
Well, the amazing thing is he spent 10 years in the AL. Like,
right.
He's been able to accumulate those numbers by only playing half of his career, not even half.
Can they turn 2? 6-4-3 on the double play. Bader 0 for 2. And we'll see Matt Carpenter. Well, with the kind of spring that Tommy Edman has had, he has solidified himself as the everyday second baseman. So what will be the role of Matt Carpenter? Probably a lot of this. A lot of pinch hitting.
Well, and if he can get back to the point where he's seeing the ball well, starts barreling thing, he's a great weapon to be able to have off the bench. And you know this about Matt Carpenter, and it has not been the best spring for him. The lone hit was a double off the wall, although he, has hit some balls harder here recently. He's going to do everything that he can to help the club. And he will take to this role just fine. There are some players around the game of baseball, Dan, and I'm sure that you've been around some of them over the years, where their role changes and so does their maybe work ethic, or so does their outlook overall. It's not going to be the case for Carpenter. He's going to grind it out and try to figure out where he fits in.
He's 1 for 24 this spring. 7 walks, 10 strikeouts. Ryan Helsley throwing in the Cardinal bullpen. One ball and 2 strikes. I don't care how long you've been in the game, and you've seen it many, many times. You look up and you're 1 for 24. You press too. And I'm sure, even though it's spring training, there's got to be a little bit of a sense of urgency here with Carpenter.
Yeah, I would think so. Well, it goes back to the role change that we were talking about too. You got to be able to prove that you deserve the at-bats, and it's been a tough one for Carpenter.
6 strikeouts for the right-hander of Houston. Ryan Helsley coming on, and so is Jim Katt with Miles Michaelis.
A shoulder issue. Tell us the latest. I know you've been throwing a little bit. What's the latest update?
It's feeling a little bit better every day, and I'm just kind of building back up. Not starting from scratch, obviously, because I was, all the way up to live hitters. And the elbow feels great, and the shoulder just got a little cranky, getting it going, and it's going to get going and be fine. I know the MRI was clean, nothing structural, nothing major, just a little inflammation. So shouldn't be too much longer for me to be off a mound, and then catch up with the team as soon as I can once the season starts.
Any idea where the shoulder thing came from?
It's really tough to simulate that full adrenaline delivery, and I've been rehabbing the elbow and been long tossed and throwing bullpens, and that last 5 or 10% is hard to replicate because it's mostly adrenaline based. And when I finally had some hitters in the box, I was really excited to finally get to do that, and I had a great live BP, and I think I just might have overdid it. Maybe I should have kept one foot on the brake for another live BP or two before I let it full go, because I hadn't thrown a pitch full go in almost a year, and I think I just flared up some shoulder issues, and that's why we are where we are.
Obviously, at this point in the season, caution is, a very important thing to have. But what are your concerns that maybe you can't get past this as quickly as you hope for, or what's your confidence level that it won't be an issue going forward?
I think my tagline right now is, I'm not overly worried, but you do want to be overly cautious, because you don't want this to turn into it feels good for a month, and then it flares up again, and I'm one of those guys that's here today, gone tomorrow, on my way back. So I want to make sure that I've got it knocked out, and that when I come back, that I can be ready for a full slate of innings and a full rest of the season. And I don't see myself missing a whole lot of time and being healthy all the way through the end of the season, into September, October, November.
you know, the Cardinals were able to work it out with Yachty, and Yachty's back in the Cardinal uniform. Obviously, the organization's happy, fans are ecstatic. But as a starting pitcher, knowing that when you're back, you'll have Yachty behind the plate, what does that mean to you?
It means a lot. I mean, I think you could ask anybody anywhere in any clubhouse, you know, how would you feel about having a future Hall of Famer and, you know, 9-time Gold Glove winner behind the plate, and they'd, you know, overcome with joy and satisfaction. So that's awesome to know that he's there. It's another year of that comfort behind the plate, and another year of learning and then trying to soak in all that knowledge.
Last thing before we let you go, Adam Wainwright has looked great in spring. He's 39. He looks like he's 27. Just your impression on what Waino did last season, and obviously has carried it over into the spring. You know, a guy at that advanced age.
Yeah, he's you know, he's turning into a little bit of an ageless wonder. He works so hard, and his preparation mentally and physically is probably unmatched by very few. And you know, being able to see what he does as he gets older, and to keep up his stuff and do what he does, it's you know, inspiration for guys who are getting older, and you know, very, very fun to watch.
Miles, thanks for the time. We appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
All right, that's good stuff with Miles Michaelis. So, as he mentioned, no structural damage with the MRI results with the shoulders. So, Brad, you've gone through injuries. You know, kind of put it in layman's terms. What are we looking at here?
Well, I like what he said about not being overly worried but overly cautious, and that's a lot of things. So he hit on something that was important as well, the idea that the adrenaline kicks in. So people say, well, he had a year off. Like, how do you not know that there was something going on? Well, it is different. You get somebody up there, you start throwing harder, the adrenaline kicks in, and you feel something. So really, I mean, it's going to be taking it slow and trusting your body, and hopefully he's able to jump back on the mound and get it going. But as soon as you get that MRI back as the player, as the athlete, and they tell you, hey, you're clear, you're okay, we just got to deal with the soreness that's there, that takes a big weight off your back. Because even if you don't think that there's something, you're nervous, you're waiting for those results to come back. So luckily for Miles Michaelis, they came back clear. And you mentioned it earlier, the Cardinals are going to need him. They're going to need the innings. They're going to need him to be right. So the way that he and the club are going about this right now, it's the way to handle it. You take your time right now, so you don't have to do the yo-yo of in and out of the rotation. Oh, we thought he was good, we pushed it, now he's not good, we pull him back. It's better for everybody to take your time.
Well, Ryan Helsley this inning in relief of John Gant, who went 5, gave up a couple of runs, 3 hits, or rather 1 run on 3 hits, struck out 5. Helsley got a ground ball off the bat of Brantley to short, struck out Alvarez, and it's 2-1 on Carlos Correa. Helsley this spring, his 4th appearance, 3 innings, 2 hits and 1 run. Could be a multi-inning type reliever for the Cardinals.
A guy that was a starter throughout the minor leagues. They did tell him this year, hey, you're a bullpen guy. That's how we're going to bring you in. So he kind of knew his role. Good little cutter right there.
Just off the plate. Helsley thought he had a strike, and it's a 2-out walk.
Pretty good pitch. Tough to tell definitively from there, but either way, just the action on that pitch, that cutter right there, that's what you want that thing to do. It comes out of his hand really nice, just a small amount of movement. It's going to be the key for Helsley, is just that secondary pitch. You know, he's got the upper 90s fastball, but which one of those, you know, is he able to get full command of that cutter? He's got the curveball. Saw a really nice changeup that he threw, the 0-1 pitch to Alvarez beforehand. That'll be a nice weapon against lefties.
I was hoping it was going to be Jose Siri running.
Oh,
little rematch.
Hey. You know, one of the 2 players would want that rematch. I'm thinking Siri might just stay close to the bag.
Yeah, I think
he
so.
might go little league rules, no leadoff. just keep a foot on.
That might be the play or series of plays of the spring. What do you think?
It's the most memorable thing that's happened this spring for me, at least.
Yeah. For fans that didn't see it, Siri was a pinch runner with Yachty behind the plate, and Yachty tried to pick him off at first base, and he gave him kind of the Mutombo wag the finger. Yeah, no. And Yachty said, okay, and motioned him, said, all right, go ahead and try to take second base. And when he did, it was a changeup low, backhanded by Yachty, and still threw him out. And he kind of peeked behind an umpire and said, huh, okay.
It was great.
It was. It was fun. The game within the game. It's a beautiful game. Tucker is 0 for 2. Hit into a double play back in the second, started by Paul Goldschmidt and fly to right. 2 balls, no strikes. Doesn't get that call. 3-0. Are we at the point in spring training where guys are like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to go. Maybe not the pitchers, but position players.
Yeah, I think you see it, right? You have already circled the date on your calendar. Everybody's got their home base set up in St. Louis. Everybody's ready to go. But these are the days that are really important, too, because you're still trying to iron some things out.
And that is just off the plate as Helsley looks back in. Looks like the strike zone has shrunk just a little bit here on Ryan Helsley. Some borderline pitches not going his way, so back-to-back walks. And it brings in Yuli Gurriel.
He has made some decent pitches. He's not getting the benefit of the doubt from home plate umpire Carlos Torres, but at the end of the day, you still got a kid in Helsley that throws 97 plus miles an hour. When you're not getting those calls, you can't just keep going to them, right? You got to be able to compete within the strike zone.
So I'm curious, when this breaks up, does Yachty go back, and you played with Yachty, we've seen him forever. Will he go back and politely, not to try to show up the umpire, but ask him, hey, my guy's not getting that call. What are you seeing here?
Yeah, chances are it'll be the third conversation that they've had already, because he's probably been doing it throughout. But, right here, there'll probably be a little bit of, hey, we need that one. Got to have it. Where was it? All you want ever as a pitcher and certainly as a catcher, and Yachty is so good at the old bedside manner, right, of talking to the umpire. But all you want is consistency. You want to know that if I throw a pitch in the same place twice, I'm going to end up getting the same result twice.
So 2 outs and 2 on. Gurriel at the plate. And a pitch taken inside for a ball. Gurriel fly to right, popped out to Molina. Foul territory back in the 4th.
But Yachty or Molina, not a bad one to have politicking for you behind the plate.
Not at all.
And you mentioned he does it the right way.
Off the end of the bat, little floater, and it finds a hole. Into center. A run will score, and a throw to third. They got him. So Bader's throw to Arenado. The run will score, and that ties the game up at 2-2 on the base hit by Yuli Gurriel. St. Louis Cardinals baseball is brought to you by Budweiser. This Bud's for you. By Great Southern Bank, understanding what really matters. And by the Hyundai Spring Upgrade event going on right now. Hurry in and get the upgrade you deserve. It's been a cloudy day down in Jupiter, Florida. We're in the studios here in St. Louis. Fox Sports Midwest. Brad Thompson, Dan McLaughlin with you. New pitcher is Ryan Stanek, the 29-year-old from right here in St. Louis, Missouri. Named after Ryan Sandberg of the Cubs, yet born into a family of Cardinal fans.
Well, it doesn't make a ton of sense. There must be a great respect factor there when it comes to Ryan Sandberg.
Toto is at first. Pena stays in at short. Nova at third. Garcia at second. McCormick is in left. The changes for the Astros. Good changeup. That's what he's got. Pretty good changeup. Tommy Edman, the top of the Cardinal lineup. This may be his final plate appearance of the afternoon as we play here in the 6th. He has popped out to second, and also he walked in the 3rd. And he swings and misses, and a strikeout. Brings in Paul Goldschmidt. Blues and Sharks tonight, 7:30, right here on Fox Sports Midwest, soon to be Bally Sports Midwest. Blues and Sharks. Blues got a win last night. 2-2 our score here.
It was good to see, get those boys rolling again. Had dropped 5 in a row. They're getting healthy. Schwartz, Bozak, Vladdy all back. Fun time to be a sports fan. Opening day around the corner. We got hockey.
NCAA tournament. 0-1 pitch. Hold sharply to third. Diving stop Nova. He'll throw and throws it away. So base hit and an error. Nova just came into the ball game to take over at third base for Taylor Jones.
So the ball finds you, and you make a play like that. You're a young player. You want to do something special. You knock it down. But then as soon as you don't come up with this one, you might want to eat it.
It is the thing about spring training games when you start getting into the 6th and the 7th and the 8th and the 9th, and you're watching guys that are close to the big leagues but maybe not quite there. You see the strike zone. They struggle throwing strikes.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you see guys trying to do too much to make an impression in the field.
Some hustle efforts, right?
Yeah.
Like there are some things that you just try to do a little bit too much.
Here's Nolan Arenado as John Nagowski is now the pinch runner for Goldschmidt. Nagowski has had a fantastic camp for the Cardinals.
He's been really good. Drawing walks, clutch hits, good eye. I mean, he's done everything that he can to this point with every opportunity he's been given to sneak on the roster. And we'll see if he can end up doing it, how they manipulate things if they want to get him in. But Nagowski's been very, very good.
And he wears the Cardinal uniform the way I like it. Showing those stirrups.
You were doing that today on the way in. You pulled up your suit pants. You had the high socks. You have the stripes on today as well, Dan.
I do. One of the great uniforms in sports. The birds on the bat. The stirrups. Love it. Two balls and no strikes. Arenado is hitless today. Struck out swinging back in the 1st and fly to right. They're going to turn him loose here on this 3-0. You know that.
Well, you might as well.
Let him do some damage.
Well, he owes you a home run from your birthday the other day that you tried to call for him.
That is exactly right.
So here you go. Even though the present is belated, it's always welcomed, isn't it?
It is always welcome. Looks at his strike. Stanek attended Arkansas. Played for the Razorbacks. Mentioned he was born in St. Louis but grew up in Stillwell, Kansas. Former first-round selection by the Rays. Jordan Hicks is warming up for the Cardinals. Looking forward to seeing him appear in this ball game. A 3-1 breaking ball in there for a strike. Stanek last year, 9 regular season appearances for the Marlins. Made the club's opening day roster. And then he was sidelined with COVID. And did not pitch in the Marlins wild card series win over the Cubs. The 3-2 pitch to Nolan Arenado. Out of play. Yeah, get out of the way. If you didn't bring your glove like you should to a Savannah Bananas game, as you told me, of the Independent League, that would have been an out if you catch it. You got to get out of the way.
Yeah.
You catch it in those those games in independent ball, That's an out.
Yeah. When you're obviously, if you're a Savannah Bananas fan, you're letting everything that your guy hits into stands drop.
Okay.
You're not going to catch your own.
That's right.
Stuff. But the opposition hits it into the stands. You're going for it. You're going all out. You're part of the team. Like, don't you want to feel like that as a fan? Like, you feel like you're part of the team anyhow.
Imagine if you were no hitters on the line and you dropped it. Can't have that.
And then he gives up a real hit.
Yep.
Oh, my goodness, Dan. That fan. And I think that the media should interview the fan that drops a ball like that, too. There's an accountability factor here. Don't you think?
So you've been part of the good and the bad after games of being interviewed by the media, so why not just bring the fan into it and let them experience it?
Well, that's what I'm thinking, because a lot of times it looks easy to do stuff at home. And then, talking to the media after a really bad day, seems like you'd say all the right things, wouldn't you? Well, let's find out. Because, maybe during an interview in the past, I've said something that I didn't really mean or used a phrase that's not even really a phrase that's followed me around my whole career. Let people deal with that.
Slowly hit up the third base line. Here's Jordan Hicks. I think we found out in your postgame your affinity for canines.
Well, big fan, and always had dogs. Anyways, I had a bad outing, and I was asked, Brad, where do we go from here? I was like, I don't know. Go find a puppy to snuggle or something. I don't know. I don't know where we go.
Yeah.
Anyways, Tony told me I had to adopt a dog afterwards.
Arenado laces one foul. And did you follow Tony?
Yeah, of course. Of
Got
course.
that dog.
Had 2 dogs for a while. One now, 14 years old. She's deaf as can be, but sweet.
She might enjoy this broadcast then.
Maybe. Probably snuggled up at home.
Yep.
Seeing that in the background.
Yep. Three-two pitch. Arenado's going to do some damage. Starting to get locked in.
And we've seen the hard hit balls here recently. We know what he's done in the past. It is funny just watching, it's the Cardinals right now. It's their 17th game of the spring. It just feels like he's been here longer.
Yeah.
It really does.
The 3-2 pitch to Nolan Arenado. Hits it a ton. Deep left field. The wind, though, will knock it down. And back to second. Did they double him up? Nope. Nagowski's back in there safely. Ooh, I love that high finish from Nolan Arenado. Thought he may have gotten one.
I thought you were going to get your belated birthday gift. We didn't account for the wind in this one.
Nope.
You mentioned it earlier, too, talking about in spring training, instead of, and that's a great glimpse of it right there. Instead of looking at the box score and saying, well, this guy hasn't done anything, because that's just a fly out in the box score. This ball is crushed. He hammers this thing. It's hard to get it out sometimes at Roger Dean Stadium, and certainly when the wind is blowing across. It's about the process.
Ben Fredrickson of the Post-Dispatch asked Nolan Arenado in a recent Zoom with the media about his shoulder, which he dealt with shoulder injury last year, and some of the offensive production was down. And he said, I have had 0 ill effects from last year's shoulder problems that I suffered. And you can tell, I think, watching him, and when he's right, and I've watched a lot of video of him in this offseason after the Cardinals acquired him, he finishes high with his swing, and he couldn't quite do that as much last year, and that was a good example of it. So 2 outs and a runner at second. That's Nagowski. DeYoung 1 for 2. But you could see in the reaction from his teammates in the dugout they're probably telling him, look, you got it, okay?
Welcome to Jupiter.
Yeah.
We're not in Arizona anymore where that's going off a mountain somewhere.
That's right. The 3-0 pitch to Paul DeYoung. Carson LaRue, right-handed pitcher, wears number 82 for Houston, throwing in their bullpen. 3 balls, 1 strike on the Cardinal shortstop. Out of play. Three-one pitch. Tapped foul. Full count.
As we mentioned before, Thursday we saw the home run, the single, both balls pulled by DeYoung. Remember last year in spring, before everything got shut down, he was spraying the ball all over the yard and driving it the other way with authority. Chances are Stanek's going to try to end up going away from him with something. If it's a strike, we'll see if Paul can drive it that way.
3-2 pitch. Taken low. Runners at first and second for Tyler O'Neill. Turning into a lengthy inning now for Stanek. Pitch number 24 upcoming. And we'll get our first look at Rondon at first base today. Pinch running for Paul DeYoung. And we'll also get our first look coming up at Jordan Hicks. Looking forward to that. We haven't seen him pitch in any of our televised games. He's been throwing a lot on the backfields, but we'll get to see him come into this one. Start an inning fresh, clean, and see what happens.
Yeah, he had a pretty memorable Grapefruit League appearance. His first one back, a 22 pitch at bat against the Mets. Ended in a walk, but it was ridiculous.
Now, an honest question for you. When you're throwing 100 to 102,
you think I'm going to have an answer to that question?
I'm wondering. Well, yeah, not many guys do. So, yeah, you're right. There's only a few on the planet that probably can answer
Go on, though.
this.
I'll put myself in his shoes.
How does he not strike out somebody on 22 pitches? How does somebody hang in there that long?
It was a heck of it at bat.
It was.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Hicks. And by the way, another thing for all of us to remember, right, while there's the excitement of him coming back, there's also, like, you got to get the feel for stuff again. Yep. He's got a wipeout slider. We've seen it before, but it's not going to be perfect. Like, coming off Tommy John, a lot of guys, you come back, the velocity, you're able to regain that, but it's the feel for all of your pitches. He opted out last year, so he missed that full season. It's going to take a while for him to get a feel for everything within the strike zone.
Got him on a changeup, and O'Neill strikes out for the 3rd time today. Jordan Hicks coming on when we come back. So this was last Sunday in the at-bat against Luis Guillorme of the Mets. 22 pitches in his first appearance. 22.
He was trying to ease back into things. Said, all right, first one. Let's see if I can knock some cobwebs off. This at-bat took 12 minutes. And that was the entire appearance for Jordan Hicks. You know, the new rules, got to face 3 batters, not in spring training. Mike Schultz said, I'm going to get him out of here. But this is ridiculous. The fans that were there, not the cardboard cutouts that you see, they were going crazy. The Mets dugout was going nuts the entire time. I mean, it was a spectacle for sure. But a nightmare for a manager and a pitching coach who's saying, God dang it, can we just get the guy a little bit of work?
I've noticed, too, with Hicks, I don't know if I'm right on this, but you're a guy that would definitely pick up on this, having seen Jordan Hicks, but I think his motion is shortened up a bit too.
I don't think there's any question. The arm swing right there, and that's a great look at it. Of the ball comes out of the glove, and he never was a full reach back guy and full, big long arm, but it is way shorter right now. We talked about this the other day too with Reyes. Looks like his arm path is a little bit shorter. Mechanically, it'll help you get your arm up quicker.
0-2 pitch. And a fly ball, left field. That's Dean, Austin Dean in left. Changes for the Cardinals with Nagowski staying in the game at first base. Edmundo Sosa at second. Jose Rondon is at short. Max Moroff is at third. Dean now in left field. And Jordan Hicks on the mound. Here's McCormick. Came into the ball game an inning ago and looks at a strike. The 0-1. 86-mile-an-hour slider.
A good tight breaking ball right there. And here's a good look at that shorter arm path right here from Jordan Hicks. Ball ends up just coming out of the glove, and you see he doesn't drop way out behind him. Quick, gets the arm up. Looks very repeatable for him. That's one thing with the longer arm arc, which is, pitchers have been taught that forever. You get the ball out, you get your arm up. But your timing better be really good. There are a lot of times when you get into a funk where you're going down the hill where your arm is still way back and then your timing is off a little bit. When you have that shorter arm arc, it allows you to keep your timing better, get your arm on top.
And he strikes him out. 97 on the black. So Hicks gets his first strikeout. There's 2 away. Jordan keeps himself in tremendous condition. Say he's one of the strongest players on the team. He just happens to be a pitcher. Now the question would be is, he's going to break camp with the club. What will that role be in terms of how they ease him back into his usage in the bullpen?
Well, and when you say ease in, that's like the closer role, right? Because that guy, whoever the quote-unquote closer is, that's an answer the phone every day job. And that's difficult to do coming off Tommy John. You're going to watch how you end up utilizing him. You just know this part of it. He's going to be in tight ball games, generally when you have the lead. And anytime he's out there, you're going to feel really good about it. Maybe he emerges throughout the season, and we look at him and say, okay, well, Hicks is definitely the closer. But the great thing right now for Schulte and for Maddox, and look at this, the young studs in the Cardinals bullpen that they have, a lot of guys that throw very, very hard. The good thing is you got a lot of different options. A couple of them right there in that picture. Hicks, Genesis Cabrera, that can close out ball games. Good luck with that. Nasty slider. You see Nova there with the buckle, but you got a lot of guys that have some swing and miss in that bullpen. So even though Hicks has been a closer before and looks to be the closer of the future, you got options.
The 1-2 pitch to Nova. Popped up. And a souvenir at Roger Dean Stadium. So Jordan Hicks, 24 years old. He is a type 1 diabetic. So opted out of last season with the COVID-19 protocols and did receive a full season of service time. Made the Cardinals roster in 2018 as a 21-year-old. Line foul. So in 2019, he averaged 101.1 miles per hour.
That feels like a typo.
Averaged. We saw that famous at bat with Herrera of the Phillies, and he hit 105, I believe it was, at Busch Stadium.
Fans were going wild.
Oh, man. And the 1-2 pitch. He got him. Couple of strikeouts for Hicks. And a 1-2-3. Time to stretch in a 2-2 game. Take a look at our Budweiser play of the game, and it's a home run off the bat of Dylan Carlson.
But love the idea, love the willingness on the pitch prior to that. Dylan dropped down the bunt. It was an open left side. But he figures, why not just put one over the building? That seems easy enough as well. Good to see that stroke from Dylan Carlson.
Yadier Molina, 0 for 2. Pair of strikeouts. Couple of changes for the Astros with Souza now in right field, and that's whacked out to left. 1 pitch, 1 out. Catch made by McCormick. Siri, old buddy, Mr. Siri, is out in center. So Carlson, 2-run homer in the second and a walk in the 5th. 1 for 1 today. Brown, the new pitcher, Lee, the new catcher for Houston.
Kind of had to know after Yachty jumped on that first pitch fastball that Brown wasn't just going to go serve another one of those in for Dylan Carlson, that he was going to pull a string.
1-0 pitch. 2 balls and no strikes. Cardinals will open up in Cincinnati this year. Suarez, Votto, Castellanos. No more Trevor Bauer. He signed with the Dodgers. Iglesias was traded to the Angels. Very good closer. Jake Woodford throwing in the Cardinals pen. Hit the other way. And a base hit for Dylan Carlson. On base for the 3rd time.
Well, you really like seeing this. He showed off the home run power earlier, but this is a fastball up, out, over, and just drives it that way. That's such a smooth, easy, sweet stroke right there, Dan, from Dylan Carlson.
Well, the Cardinals have speed in their everyday lineup. When you think about Tommy Edman, Tyler O'Neill, and the guy at first base, Dylan Carlson. Pitch in the dirt to Bader for ball 1. Harrison has flied to right, grounded into a 6-4-3 double play, and he's 0 for 2. Would you be cautious about a hit and run with Bader because of a right-hander on the mound, and many times you will get that swing and miss?
Yeah, I think that you can, especially one with a good slider. That's the one that you end up worrying about a little bit with Harrison Bader. But if you're going to try it, like if you're gonna put that on, do it now. Like, work on it here. So I think that sometimes helps a guy like Harrison Bader say, all right, well, I got to make sure that I shorten up, that I stay on top of something that way.
And maybe in this count, 2 on 2-0, get something to hit here. Carlson back safely. Nolan Gorman has moved to the on-deck circle. He had a bases clearing double in our last broadcast the other night. Back on Thursday. The 2-0 pitch to Harrison Bader. 3-0. And he walked him. '21 Cardinals Hall of Fame ballot presented by Edward Jones is live now through April 17th. And you can cast your vote for your top deserving player from another great field of candidates. Visit cardinals.com/HOF. A lot of excitement around Nolan Gorman. And
rightfully so.
Why.
Yeah, rightfully so. We've talked about it all throughout the spring. Certainly looks the part.
Big breaking ball in there for strike one. Gorman has been playing at second base, a little bit of outfield work after the acquisition of Nolan Arenado. Last year at the satellite camp, and one of the top prospects in the game. The 0-1. Another curveball, 0-2. His bat is what will carry him to the big leagues.
Yeah, and the transition to second base, by all accounts, is going well. He looks good on that side of the infield. He's feeling more comfortable. In a B game the other day, he played nothing but defense at second base. Got to turn a double play from that side because, I mean, it's different. All your footwork is different, but that's gone well. But it doesn't have to be perfect. If the bat's going, he's playing.
1-2 the count. Came up the other night, pinch hitting, bases loaded, drove it into the gap in right center, and that scored 3.
Well, fastball up. Be on the lookout for a hanging breaking ball here from Brown that might end up going a long way if he doesn't get this thing down.
1 ball, 2 strikes. A check on what is the potential go-ahead run in Dylan Carlson. 2 men on. The 1-2. The changeup taken outside. Two and two. The acquisition of Arenado, I don't know if you feel this way too, but it just feels like it takes some pressure off of, and who knows if they were going to do this or not, but pushing Nolan Gorman. You know, whether or not, you know, you might be on the fence of saying, well, our offense is deficient come July or August. Do we think about pushing him up and maybe exposing him when he's not quite ready, but you think he might be? Well, now you don't have to. Potentially. Strikeout of Gorman.
No, I would agree. I think that there's always a path. Like, you always have an idea of what you want to do with the player, and you don't want to expedite the ETA, but sometimes there's a need at the big league level, and you kind of have to usher a player there, but it does give them a little bit of breathing room. And for Nolan, he can learn a new position, go swing it. Again, man, Nolan hasn't played above A ball yet.
Right.
So there's still a lot of learning left.
So 2 outs, 2 on, and Max Moroff at the plate. Homered yesterday against the Mets. And the 1-0. Pickoff, and Carlson is back in safely. That's Lee now behind the plate.
Pretty good throw right there, too, right on the bag.
If he fields that cleanly, I think he's out. Carlson represents the go-ahead run. 2-2 our score. 2 outs, 2 on. In a 2-2 game. And the 2-0 pitch. 3-0. John Nagowski is on deck. Boy, you'd love to see him come up with the bases loaded. Kind of camp that he has put together and trying to add to this spring training resume, which has been very good. 3-0. He'll get that opportunity. The bases will be loaded. Nagowski this spring is 8 for 22. He's driven in 8. And he will make you earn it. He's only struck out 3 times to go along with 7 walks. So his on-base percentage is above 500 here in spring, 517.
It is really good. Yeah, the 7 walks are tied for the team lead with Matt Carpenter. The 8 RBI tied with the team lead with Tyler O'Neill. And just a guy that, to be a part of things, he was going to have a special spring. And it's not like Nogowski is getting a ton of reps. He's not starting ball games. He's coming in late. He's taking advantage of it.
So the question is, does he have a shot to make this team?
I think he does. I think I go back to, and he wasn't specifically talking about Nogowski, but I go back to something that John Mozeliak said early in spring. If you hit, you play, and Nogowski has done nothing but hit and get on base. At the very least, he's making it a really difficult decision when it comes time to figure out your roster.
So 2 outs, bases loaded here in the bottom of the 7th. And ball 1 to John Nogowski. We've talked about it a lot. Doesn't strike out very often. Walks a lot. And puts the ball in play. It's the old adage. It still works. Put the ball in play and good things happen. Plays a first base position. And what's the knock has been, he doesn't hit for a lot of power in terms of home runs. Here's a 1-0. 2 balls and no strikes.
I think that's something that we get caught up in a little bit too much too when it comes to, all right, well, you play a power profile position. You don't profile to fit there. Doesn't matter where your power comes from. It just, I don't care if you have a second baseman that drops bombs. It doesn't matter. If you got guys that can get on base, they have value.
Yeah. Be selective here on 2-0. 3-0. But this is the kind of at-bat late in a game off the bench that he can deliver. He's going to make you work. That's what makes it fun.
Yeah, well, and especially knowing the factors. We set the table here of talking about how Nogowski's got to have to hit to make the club, yet he's still selective, not trying to do too much.
3 balls, 1 strike. Pitch number 23 upcoming from Brown. Nogowski, his first plate appearance, came in to pinch run for Goldschmidt back in the 6th and stayed in. The 3-1 pitch. Nogowski, base hit into right center. He just keeps on hitting this spring and puts the Cardinals on top. John Nogowski, have a spring.
Well, making a club-leading 10 driven in so far this spring. 3-0 count, works it to 3-1. Just gets a fastball middle. Nice, easy swing. Doesn't come out of his shoes. Just drives the baseball and drives in, too. I mean, how can you not love what you're seeing from John Nogowski this spring?
9 for 23. 10 runs batted in, as you mentioned, and his on-base percentage now well above 500. Here's Austin Dean. Well, you're trying to make the decision tough on John Mozeliak and Michael Gersh and Mike Schilt, and John Nogowski is doing that.
Or he's making it easy, one way or the other.
That's the other way to look at it, yeah. It comes through late in this game to put the Cardinals back on top 4-2. Softly to short. And Dean retired. John Nogowski, the single into center, drives in 2. Cardinals on top. That there are promo items all month long in April at the ballpark, including our adult puffy vest presented by Bayer. And that'll be when Washington is in town. Cardinals.com/promotions. Get your tickets. Here's Jake Woodford this spring, 5 2/3, 6 strikeouts, couple of walks, but the ERA very good, 1.59.
He's looking really good. Another guy too that just provides depth. He could throw out of the bullpen. Obviously been a starter his minor league career.
Where do you think he winds up?
Look, it's hard to say right now. I mean, I think that he would probably start the season. Chances are, in the minor leagues at the alternate site, provide that depth again when you have different swing players. But he'll make an effect on this roster this year, whether it be right out of camp or, throughout the season.
This is Garcia hitting .250 this spring. Garcia took over at second base for Altuve. Yeah, sometimes the numbers work in your favor and sometimes they don't with roster construction for players. And you can be such a valuable player in multiple roles, and in this year you need pitching, and sometimes you got to stretch guys out in the minor leagues just to be safe.
Well, a couple and this year is different, as you brought up, but I think about a couple of guys off the top of my head that have been kind of in that role of this swinging back and forth between AAA and the big leagues in the last couple of years. Daniel Ponce de Leon, certainly one of those, and Austin Gomber, who was traded over to the Rockies. Like, those guys, very valuable, but the value sometimes is in the ability to go up and down.
Good curveball, check swing, and he got him. Could be a strikeout.
Woodford features a really nice 12-6 curve. Look how fast that thing is spinning just out of his fingers, straight down. Talk about some Cardinals that got some good Uncle Charlies. We'll start with Uncle Charlie. Woodford, Reyes, spin it. John Gant showing off some good ones today as well.
Cardinals have used Gant, Helsley, Hicks, and now Woodford. And that combination has struck out 9. That's pulled foul by Steven Souza Jr. And the 0-1. Jake made his major league debut last year in the back end of a doubleheader against the White Sox, and he found out in about 15 minutes.
You're starting. Okay.
That's the way last year was. You weren't sure how games are going to go, so
you had to have him out there available in game 1.
Right. Didn't need him, so hey, by the way, Jake, welcome to the big leagues. Grab a glove, maybe a bottle of water, grab a ball, and you're starting in 15 minutes.
Yeah, hurry up and house that peanut butter and jelly you just made.
Yep.
Because you're playing. You know what, though? I know Woody talked about it afterwards. Like, it was almost a good thing. Because there was no build-up. You didn't have to worry about it. I remember having times, especially early in my career, where I knew I was getting a spot start, and getting to sleep the night before was not the easiest thing. Like, you're thinking about it. You're running through everything. In that one, you just go out there and pitch. You do what you've been doing your whole life.
Fastball, got him. Back-to-back Ks. Fox Sports Midwest is becoming Bally Sports Midwest. Bally Sports will be the new network of your favorite team starting March 31st. Nine pitches, pair of strikeouts for Jake Woodford. Good curveball.
Woodford looking really good today. Spotting up his fastball, throwing the breaking ball right off of it.
And the 0-1 pitch. Another curveball to Dawson. His first plate appearance. Pena on deck. Relievers last year saw 45% of the batters in baseball. 45%. 10 years ago, it was 33%. So it jumped up, and it was gradually jumping up, but it's been a historic jump. 735 pitchers saw action in a big league game last year. 5th most in the history of baseball. It almost caught Dawson. But what we're seeing is that the starters aren't going as deep, and you know, you're just seeing managers second time through say, hey, the analytics say get him out, and we're going to a bullpen with some guy throwing 98 coming in. Yeah, well, that is one of the biggest things, is how great the arms are down in the pen. Like you think about the Cardinals bullpen, however it shakes out, there's not one guy down there that Schulte and Mike Maddox would have any worry about going to in a given time. You know, it's a luxury, but it ends up changing the game when you can do that. 1-2 the count. Cardinals have a 4-2 lead. St. Louis got their runs on a 2-run homer by Dylan Carlson in inning number 2. And a 2-out bases loaded single by who else? John Nagowski. Last half inning gives St. Louis this 4-2 lead. 2-2 pitch. Curveball on the ground, taken there by Sosa. Midway through 8, Cardinals on top. Reminder that our next spring training game is Monday at noon, and the Cardinals take on the Marlins. You can see this on Fox Sports Midwest, soon to be Bally Sports Midwest. Cardinals spring training coverage brought to you by Mid-America Chevy. Tyler Ivey, new pitcher for the Astros. He's had 3 minor league seasons. Former Aggie, pitched for Texas A&M. 3rd round pick in 2017. He did not appear in any games last year, and then his minor league season obviously wiped out. Was dominant though at Double-A the year before. Here's Jose Rondon, and he's had a very good camp as well and opened up some eyes for the Cardinals. Could he be somebody the Cardinals potentially bring north? Yes, again, another guy showing up in spring, can play all over the infield. Is showing off a little bit of power this spring. Has a home run, has a couple of triples also. Long way to go. Souza over and out of play. Cody Whitley is throwing in the Cardinal pen. Happy birthday to longtime clubhouse manager of the Cardinals, now works on the visitor side. Good friend of ours, Rip Rowan. Happy birthday, Rip. Love me some Rip Rowan. He is a good dude. Works hard. Took care of me for years. Off the end of the bat and a base hit for Rondon. Those are long hours in that job, by the way. Are they ever? Fifth hit of the spring for Rondon. Just goes down there and gets that big breaking ball. Able to stay back enough to get some wood on it. Sosa 2 for 15 this spring. He is out of options. Trying to make the club as a backup. Hit and run was on. He missed it. Rondon to second base.
Well, just like you draw it up, Dan, you get the guy over anyhow, and you get an opportunity to drive him in yourself.
With the runner at second, they will change up the sides.
So, yeah, Sosa does everything that he can to try to put a little lumber on that. Would have needed a boat oar to actually get it.
Yep. Try to do it any way you can.
That's it. It just the swing itself throws off the catcher at least.
About this breaking ball from Ivy. He's got arms, legs, body parts coming at you, and then whoo.
It's funky too, right? And it pops up out of his hand, which you think is easy enough to pick up, but the amount of movement that it has to it, probably hard to square.
Sosa, the ground ball to the right side, so Rondon advancing from second to third.
It's another one of those things in spring training. If you just go and look at a box score, that right there is a 4-3. But what it is in that situation is a productive at bat. You can just get a ground ball to the right side, knowing the situation. You know that Mike Schill likes to see stuff like that.
Justin Williams off the bench. One out, infield drawn in, and nearly a wild pitch. Williams has had a lot of plate appearances, 25 this spring, 6 for 25. 2 balls and no strikes. 1 home run. He's driven in 2. A couple of walks, 5 strikeouts. So the infield is in. Big gap in right center. And the 2-0 pitch to Williams. There's that big bender, too.
Let's see if Justin can get something in the air here, right? I mean, that's get the runner in from third. Again, that's something they've been working on with Justin Williams, is try to get some more out of that power anyhow, get him to get the baseball in the air. A little sac fly will do.
2-1 pitch. 3-1.
Next one. Let's go.
Full count. Cardinals have an open date tomorrow, and then Monday against Miami, we'll have it for you. 3-2 pitch. And the curveball in the dirt. Jack Flaherty scheduled to pitch that game on Monday that we'll have for you.
It'll be good to see him again. As you mentioned early, Jack Flaherty getting a lot of his work on the backfield so far this offseason. Been able to tinker, work on some things back there, and a lot of it by design. You keep him under wraps.
Lane Thomas got off to a hot start in spring. He's cooled a bit. 6 for 24. No home runs, and he's driven in 4. So Lane Thomas will pinch hit here. Williams, your runner at first base. Rondon down at third, and that's ball 1. Cardinals trying to add to their 4-2 lead. Such a difficult season last year for Lane, as he was one of the Cardinals hit with COVID, and then trying to come back. He admitted that he just wasn't right. Took him a while to feel comfortable again in the offseason, and now it's a clean slate here in 2021.
And after getting a chance to see him in 2019, it's an unfortunate too how that ended that season. Got hit in the hand, broken hand. He ended up missing the rest of the year, but you saw him flying around. You saw the ball come off his bat, and he just never looked like that player last year. Never had the opportunity to.
One ball, 1 strike. Williams a runner at first base. Rondon at third. And the 1-1. Curveball. Just missed a bit low. And Thomas lifts a fly ball out to deep right. Souza with the catch. Tagging up Rondon, he'll score, and that makes it 5-2.
It's a nice at-bat. Lane Thomas, see the swing, gets the ball up in the air, gets the job done, gets guy in from third. See the wind kind of swirling out there now.
Yeah. This is Ortega. Took over for Molina behind the plate. Williams back in safely. Off the plate for a ball. Dennis Ortega. He'll turn 24 in early June, out of Venezuela. Big guy, 6'3", 230 pounds. He was at the alternate training site last year. 2019, he was at Palm Beach. Six years in the minor leagues, he has thrown out 42% of base stealers. He's been a very good catch and throw. The 1-1 pitch. Grounder to third. The RBI from Lane Thomas adds to the Cardinals' lead as we head to the ninth. Lane Thomas makes it a 5-2 St. Louis lead. This copyrighted telecast presented by authority of the St. Louis Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. Brad Thompson, Dan McLaughlin, we are in the studios of Fox Sports Midwest right here in downtown St. Louis. Cardinals, their spring training home in Jupiter, Florida, in Roger Dean Stadium. And the new pitcher in for St. Louis is Cody Whitley. Like this guy, Brad.
Well, you know what I love about Cody Whitley is how just aggressive he is. I mean, he goes right after a little bit of everybody.
And the first pitch is swung on and hit out to left field. Under it, Dean with the catch. One pitch, one away.
Mentioned it last year when it comes to Cody Whitley. Came to spring training, showed up, and I was asking around who do I need to keep an eye on, and Cody Whitley's name came up. You look at the spring numbers so far, been very, very good.
Throws strikes, as you mentioned, goes right at people.
And it's unorthodox, right? Like the way that he throws a little bit different, hides the ball behind his head, seems to jump on the hitters.
There's strike one. 5-2 our score. Cardinals trying to go above 500, make it a 7-6-4 spring if they can pick up the victory here. Just inside. This is Siri. So he was the young man that was involved in the play with Yadier Molina earlier in spring. 1-1. Fouled back.
I think that Jose Siri would just rather we stop talking about it.
It's hard, though, not to. It's
best moment of spring.
It is. It's one of the better moments.
But a lesson learned, nonetheless.
Yes.
Don't test the GOAT.
Here's a 1-2. I mean, Cody, there's just not a lot of, and nothing fancy with it. He's got a very good changeup to go along with what he throws, which is, you know, Fastball that plays in the big leagues.
Yep. That's the thing, though, when the opposition knows you're within the strike zone, they're going to be aggressive, and then that's when you can use that to your advantage. Maybe pitch under the zone.
Stays 1-2.
That changeup that you mentioned last time out for Whitley was really good. I mean, he was throwing that thing, and it would just drop off the table to righties and lefties. It's a good weapon to have. It was nice to see, and I know that the total inning didn't go exactly how he wanted it with a couple of walks, but a couple of good changeups from Ryan Helsley today as well.
On the ground, a short diving stop. Rondon gets up, throws, and safe at first.
The first baseman of the first
Siri busting out of the box, trying to make sure on this one. Nice play by Rondon. We'll see here. He looks safe.
double play.
Pretty good transfer right there by Rondon. Not much more he could do with that.
The stretch there by Nagowski, and here is Toro. Mentioned it earlier, Ortega's thrown out in his 6-year minor league career 42% of base stealers. Now the Astros are down by 3 in the ninth. I wouldn't think he's going anywhere here.
Well, you never know with Siri.
You never know. Paints the outside corner. 0-2. Tyler Webb throwing in the Cardinals bullpen. No balls and 2 strikes. Whitley is 26. He enters this season as the Cardinals' number 16 prospect in their organization. That's by Baseball America. And that same publication rates Whitley as having the best control in the organization. May remember he made his major league debut against the Pirates last year. That was one of the aspects that you know, I love major league debuts, and we saw a bunch of them for the Cardinals last year out of necessity, but Mom and Dad couldn't be in the stands.
That's tough.
Yeah,
that is tough.
In the dirt, Ortega kept it in front, and Siri should be at second base. Good play by Ortega to keep it in front.
Yeah, it really was. You talk about, too, with Cody Whitley, you talk about a meteoric rise. You got a guy that was a 27th round pick, a guy that pitched at 4 levels in the minor leagues in 2019. Pretty quick path.
He is out of a Division II university, Mount Olive in North Carolina. The 2-2 and a ground ball, base hit. And Siri on his way to third. Runners at the corners. Tying run will come to the plate.
The catcher, number 87, Corey Lee.
The catcher, Lee, will be the batter. 5-2 our score. Well, with that changeup, you think about a ground ball. Get him out in front, put one on the ground. We'll see.
That's it. Rely on the defense. I know there have been some wholesale changes here in the infield from the beginning of the game, but still a lot of good gloves around.
Whitley, by the way, still considered a rookie after picking up the 1 year of service time, despite the fact he only pitched 4 2/3 innings at 48 days on the injured list. Here's a 1-1 pitch. Taken high.
Reminder, too, for fans that are wondering, you mentioned Cody Whitley's rookie status. Dylan Carlson, a rookie as well. So he'll be a guy fighting it out for that Rookie of the Year, you would think.
Two and two the count. Ooh, just off the plate.
Come on, please. Put the machine back.
Well, my best guess would be that was a strikeout. Runner advanced to second, so now it is second and third. We apologize for the technical difficulties there. This would be McCormick with runners at second and third.
You mentioned Chaz
Cardinals
McCormick.
went out away.
You mentioned McCormick earlier. Another guy that's fighting for a spot on this roster here, so a big spot for him.
So 2 outs, 2 on, tying run at the plate. Here's a 1-0. Two balls and no strikes. Whitley just steps away, trying to maybe calm himself a little bit here and finish this game off. Cardinals care in the 50-50 now through the entirety of spring training. Support Cardinals Care. Chance to win some money. Cardinals.com/5050. 2 balls and 1 strike.
Here we go. One more.
And the Redbirds are 1 strike away.
Good job by Whitley getting right back into this count.
The 2-2 ends it with a strikeout. Cardinals win it 5-2. And they're now 7-6-4 in spring.
That was a nice game right there. Bullpen comes in, does a good job. Cody Whitley settles down. We see the long ball by Carlson, some clutch hitting by John Nagowski, and the Redbirds get it done here in Jupiter, Florida.
5-2 the final, and we'll wrap things up in just a moment.